Hi guys, it's Khris. That's BJ. That's Penrose. It's all knocked up. What's up?
Yeah, what's up, guys?
Hey,
Hello.
it's so nice to I was gonna say see y'all faces, but I always see y'all faces when we record. This is just the first time you guys get to see our faces while we record. So while he does that, hey guys, what's going on? BJ, what's happening?
I am drinking wine and then remarking at the fact that since I am, as y'all know, I do one of my mom's online classes for her, so I'm getting half of a second bachelor's degree right now.
Nice.
So I'm taking her political science class, and so it's amazing how the stuff I am reading about and how shitty the government is matches up with this documentary. I've spent the day writing papers about our government, and yeah, this documentary just made me even more angry as I banged on the keyboard and wrote those papers. It was amazing.
Yeah, real shit.
Just hate and rage filled papers. I'm sure her teacher is going to turn me into the federal government. So
you might want to look at this and hit forward to her fucking FBI
she
agent.
needs to be on some type of terror watch list.
Are you saying that her teacher's going to be like the white nurse Shirley? Bang.
Yeah.
Alert, anyhow.
Wow.
I like it. Inception and shit.
What kind of wine are you drinking?
Some cheap shit.
Oh, is this a thing? Are we introducing the things that we're drinking? Kind of like podcast happy hour?
Wait. I gotta talk about the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. First off, are you drinking wine out of a plastic cup though?
Do you want to know the truth about it, or you want me to lie? Oh no, this is a plastic ass wine glass because I'm a classy ass bitch.
Listen. And the gag is nobody knew until he tried to bust you out though. Like,
no, I wasn't out. It's fine. I mean, I have real wine glasses, but it's just easier to not worry about spilling it in my drunken stupor. But I'm also drinking like some trash right now. It's Barefoot Fruit Scotto, and the nigger in me was like, "Yeah, let's try that shit out." So yeah,
because I like fruit and I like Scotto.
I like fruit and Moscato, so I was like, also $5. Let's try it out. I also have what is this? Apple. I also have strawberry and I believe peach in the refrigerator. So there's that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thanks for that wine haul, all under $20.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Basically, I'm drinking like grown-up Arbor Mist. This is what I'm at right now.
Grown-up Boone's Farm.
Boone's Farm. Oh God. I went from $2.50 to $5.50. Yeah, really growing.
True story. I got fucked up on Boone's Farm on prom night. Let you know how much of a lightweight I was in high school. Boone's Farm.
So at least tell me you had a bottle.
How many did you have? Like 5? Because that's what it takes.
No. This
it definitely you have to be double fisted. Like
how many did you have?
The Boone's Farm.
This was like.
Do you have a favorite Boone's Farm? Because mine's Blue Hawaiian.
Melon ball used to pop. Do you hear what I'm saying to you?
I don't remember none of the flavors, nigga. I used to just get fucked up.
That part.
What up, Autumn?
I can't. Wait a second.
Boone's Farm flavors. Hold on. Because I remember when niggas used to steal, for one, I don't know about everybody else area, but in Detroit, we still got a drive-in movies, right? So me and this chick back in the day used to get the blue, the Everfresh like blue Hawaiian juice and go get some motherfucking Mad Dog 2020 blue Hawaiian and mix that shit and get some like blue Boone's Farm, nigga. Listen, I've had the classiest of classy, but I've also had the crazy, my nigga. Shit.
So you made a Mad Dog 40-40? Is that
pretty much? Yes.
Okay.
I definitely makes Bone Farms mad. Yo, when I was one time, I woke up in the field because the night before I mixed Tennessee and Cisco. Shit was horrible.
I just don't.
Baby, do you not care about your life? Is this something you need to talk to us about?
It's like first it was meth and then it was meth with fentanyl. Like, what is happening? Like,
who is this nigga?
Just constantly making stronger, more potent.
Like, I will explain this.
God.
But no, this is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
That's Screwball.
Screwball and apple whiskey.
I just can't. I hear it and I can fuck with it because like apple gel, I hear it. I just cannot bring myself to mix anything. I don't want to touch that. Like peanut butter is just like such. I can't. Peanut butter is just not a fucking like flavor I want as an adult in my life for real. No, unless I'm high and it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
And I feel you. Don't get me wrong. This is not something. So like the first time I had this, I had shots at the bar, at Bar Louie or whatever. And then like after that, it was not like I was just literally in the liquor store and I was like, let me get ready for the night. And I drink whiskey or I drink bourbon. So I saw the apple whiskey or whatever, and I was like, bet I'm gonna get this kind because I've never had this particular kind of apple whiskey. And I saw the screwball and I was like, yo, I like peanut butter because I usually do Crown Apple. I'm not gonna front. I tried Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey Apple tonight. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I won't do it again, but it's not that bad. So I mixed it with.
Yeah, it's like it's not good. It's not bad.
He
like,
just,
I wouldn't go
he just
there,
described that like a one night stand. Like
it's like pizza, right? Like even if it's bad, it's okay. Like,
right.
You might not ever go back. Like you might not ever go back to that place again, but you still go eat the pizza. Like,
it's like it's like waking up at that girl house who don't have a microwave, so you got to eat the pizza code. It's like that.
Who don't have a microwave?
There's a lot of ratchet bitches out here now.
Oh,
I don't. Okay, moving on. Chris,
wow.
Chris, what are you drinking over there?
What are you drinking?
I mean, I kind of have more questions about that, but I feel like was she a grandma? I don't. Okay, anyway.
Listen, if you getting dick down on an air mattress, you probably don't have a microwave.
These are fair assumptions. Sometimes I don't know what to say after the things you say. Like, so I'm sorry, that was so bad.
Might as well be on Schlitz Mall.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. So this is just vodka, lime juice, some triple sec, and just like a V8 fruit punch. So just something very basic. Just all the things I had in my house. Like, I don't go out often. I try not to. So
remember when V8 tried to pull that bullshit on us? It was like, we ain't just tomato juice. Come get this mango fruit punch, bitch.
Nigga, this is amazing. Good. And I got my daily vegetables. Like, what are you saying?
I mean, but it's good. Can you? I mean,
not the V8 fruit punch slander. Like, wait,
no slander.
Okay.
Hey, what is this? The V8 fruit punch agenda? Like, what's going on?
I don't understand. Like, I feel so attacked.
What did they?
I love it.
All they ever did was try to get us to eat our fruits and vegetables. Come on now.
They threw a carrot on the back. Like, that's legit. Like,
I love V8. What I'm saying is like V8 did what Kodak should have did, what Polaroid should have did. When Polaroid realized shit was going over to digital, they tried to play big balls and they got pushed the fuck out the game, right? V8 was the vegetable nigga. And once they realized niggas didn't want tomato juice every day, they was like, Blue Hawaiian, bitch, we in there.
I mean, you can only have so many. You can only have so many Bloody Marys. So, you know.
I mean, like, wow, like,
yo.
At some point, you gotta diversify.
If this is your first time watching All Docked Up, I need you to understand that this is part of every show. We will get to the documentary in a second, but this is how we do.
So
we gotta warm up to it.
Thanks for coming, guys. I didn't tell Penrose when we were going live. So if you guys listen to the show, he didn't get to say anything sneaky before we started.
No, listen, I tried to plan it. And you know what? This is how I know we family. Because I swear I was sitting here. I was like, I know she's going to try to keep me from fucking it up. How can I tried to plan
is it really a fuck up or just like
no? At this point, it's now just a planned thing. Before
it's the Penrose agenda. Like it's not VA. It's the Penrose agenda.
Right. Fuck V8. Let me fucking
make sure I fuck up the show and call it a
fuck
podcast.
VJ. Let me say something rude and incriminating about her. Every time. I don't know why he does me like this.
All right. So someone said it earlier. Shout out to Scoots. He said the documentary that we read. Do we read documentaries? The documentary fucking watched.
I did.
See? Okay. Anyway. So crazy. And crazy's like basically is that the best word to use for like this thing that like basically like plagued our fucking community? Like
it's some wild shit. Honestly,
unbelievable.
Crazy is the only word you can use because they didn't even bother to like hide with like normally they give it like some type of like name. That shit just popped up there on Netflix one day and said crack. Like,
you know what?
You know how wild that is? That's like if they had a documentary that was just called Prostitution.
Pussy.
Or like, like it just is up there. Like, there's no mistaking what they came here for. I appreciate the straightforwardness.
Me too. Like,
I mean, I think there was a semicolon, but I couldn't pay attention to it. I don't know what it really said.
What? To what?
It said crack semicolon something, but I mean, when you spell crack in crack, like how do I can't go past that. Like
I didn't see anything past that. I saw crack. Listen,
crack was at 42 times New Roman. Yeah, we ain't getting past it. It's all right.
Not 42.
It's just up there.
It was crack. I enjoyed the whole thing. That in a lot of the documentaries we watch, especially drug documentaries, they tend to strictly stick on the destruction of the black community or this, that, and the third. And I don't get me wrong, they did touch on that. But as a matter of fact, I don't even think we had watched this documentary yet when we discussed. We remember we was in a group chat and we were joking about something about how something benefited from Iran-Contra. And I forgot what
I was talking about how I hated Reagan and he was in hell.
Right. That's it. Documentary. You know what I'm saying? Right.
That was me. That was me. He's still in hell, by the way. Still there.
I'm sure.
Still there.
Yo, so
no checkout.
Ollie North, who they did not talk about in this documentary, is there with him. And I said, oh, no Oliver North today. Okay, right. I see what y'all are doing. Okay.
So, hey, listen, Ollie people was like, nigga, I got $1 million. Just keep me the fuck about this.
Listen, let us alone. He's in hell too, by the way.
Listen, so who's jumping in? You want me to jump into it? I can jump into it.
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say the things that I need to say first of all when this opened, and then I don't care what you do after that, because listen, this bitch opened, and okay, so some of you that are listening or watching may be older, younger, whatever. I'm 35. I was born in 1986, so we are definitely like, I'm a Reagan era baby, but a lot of these like public service announcement, PSA type shit, it was happening long before I was ever born. We were kind of like the Nancy Reagan just say no to drugs dare era. So right. I definitely saw them like playing clips of these PSAs, and I was like, is that Pee Wee Herman holding crack?
You was just born when that.
And that's what I knew.
What did he say?
It was going to be real hectic.
Wait, it was crack. Like how did he? What was he saying? Like
the way you don't ruin your life.
Guys.
The way he said it, crack.
You want to know how the government? Listen, you want to know how you know the government is fucked up? Because how was they using Pee Wee Herman to tell you not to do drugs? And this nigga's
he got his dick out. He be having his dick out.
He got caught in place with his dick out. But also, like, anybody watching Pee Wee Herman should not be old enough
to even be on crack. Like, what is happening?
No, that's not true.
Pee Wee's Playhouse is like a 6-year-old endeavor.
No. If you go back and watch Pee Wee Herman Playhouse, that shit had to be the most adult-derived show ever.
Nigga. It actually, I don't think it was, nigga.
That's
maybe, but that's like,
oh my God, can we have a secret word?
Like a,
yes, we can.
It's crack.
First motherfucker watching and type crack in the comments.
Anybody that types crack, we're just gonna throw confetti from now on. Oh, Tam says Dara was everything when she was a kid, but she didn't listen. Girl, nobody didn't listen. Nancy,
okay,
that shit was a flop.
I have to say something, and a lot of people who know me have probably heard me on this spiel, and I will. This is the fucking soapbox. In the fucking hill I will die on. I also am their kid. Okay. I have come to the conclusion that Scruff and them was not talking about weed. They were talking about things that was going to make you steal out of your mom's purse or take your grandma's TV to the pawn shop. Weed has never made me do any of that.
Scruff,
I'm able to like
Chicago, Illinois, 60652.
Nigga, right down the street. Like listen, he just wasn't talking about crack.
Confetti. Yo, was Scruff anywhere else other than the Midwest? Did other regions have different dare motherfucking like that?
Like right, like fucking Percy the fucking pill fucking
No. Like I said, I'm from the Midwest.
Percy
We've lived other
Pelican
places, and Scruff is Scruff everywhere.
Yo,
Scruff everywhere.
Deep undercover with that fucking pop collar, like not playing no games.
Scruff there had a pop collar and a book bag.
And then I remember getting older and just like now when I see him, all I can think about is like Deep Throat and how they were meeting in like the parking garages and like the coats and hats.
Yeah, like now I feel like Scruff was dressed like the drug dealer. Like, am I tripping?
Or like Scruff was like running around exposing himself to people in Central Park. Like,
it wouldn't surprise me if I saw a VH1 where they now and found out that Scruff was pushing weight on the side. Like, nigga, I was just
I mean, people have gotten in trouble over the history of time for doing the same thing they supposed to be cracking down on. So.
Well, we'll get there.
Can we stop with the Scruff slander before like this becomes a thing and then be like
So
woo!
Thank you everybody for watching our first live. Thank you for being here. Thank you for rocking with All Docked Up. Shout out to Autumn getting awarded her first
from Scruff, nigga. Litter detective. Oh, she told me about that. Oh my god, not the litter detective, but bitch, like, what is a litter detective? Like you detect it, but you don't pick it up.
No, she was telling on people that littered, girl. She was telling on other people that littered.
Right, snitching on the litterers and shit. I can't stand litter though.
So litter snitch award.
Litter
snitch. Okay. I'm kidding. All right, cool. I hope you want no litter snitch, girl.
Champion, it says so.
Okay, so not a snitch. She said I collected.
She collected the most litter that day.
Oh, look at you!
So she detected it and fucking confiscated it.
Yes.
Okay.
So you got a participation award. Good job, my nigga.
Wow. Don't do my friend.
Okay.
We're not here for this.
You know I gotta go in. I love you, Autumn.
All right. Tell us about crack.
Yeah.
We watched.
Well, first you take cocaine, and then you're gonna want to be able to.
There, not that part. Not that part.
Oh, you said tell me about. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So about the documentary. We're gonna get to that part.
I've yet to watch Snowfall, right? And so this is all going to tie into the show. I've yet to watch Snowfall, but by like knowing the Rick Ross story and everything. Oh, somebody else said crack, confetti, motherfuckers. I come to
the audio of this is going to be so confusing.
I know, right? Snowfall is nothing more than the life of Rick Ross, right? Crack. That's what we watch. I like. Again,
also, Rick Ross is in this documentary. He sits with us throughout, and if he is listening or watching, and he is single, hey,
hey, Ricky,
hey.
You still have a Dare T-shirt, yo? I'm about to buy a Dare T-shirt right now.
I desperately would like one.
eBay. I actually bought a Dare T-shirt for someone as a gift a couple of years back. I got it from eBay.
First off,
he does hella drugs. That's why he wanted it.
Well, yeah, I would take a Dare T-shirt, but just for that reason too.
I just wanted to rep my old set. So,
well, I guess I'll be hunting down Dare T-shirts for our next live show.
All right, man.
So to keep it a buck for all of you who did not watch this podcast, see, I almost did it. For all of you who did not watch this documentary. A lot of documentaries that we talk about, we go from beginning to end. To keep you from being, I'm not going to say bored, but to keep you from being stuck in the typical focus on the Black community at the beginning type documentary, I'm going to spare you that part. And I'm going to tell you what this is about, and we're going to dive into it. So again, we watch Crack. Crack at its basis, right? Anyway, it was a show of what happened to the Black community when crack cocaine became what it was, because cocaine was, a rich man's drug, and then crack became affordable cocaine. But if you are Black, if you from the Midwest, I know for sure, I can't speak for everywhere else because I did not live there, but I can only imagine what type of impact the crack epidemic had on your area. But crack was the birth of a legal struggle in the government that turned illegal, and somebody had to bear the burden for it. For all of you that's too young to know what the fuck Iran-Contra is, that's really what the birth of crack was. And that's what this documentary of like at its base
eventually gets into. Yeah.
Right. So we opened up showing Ronald Reagan getting elected in 1980. One of the things that totally gripped me is the part where he said, "Let's make America
great again."
What gripped me about that was he was not as blatant and disrespectful openly as Donald Trump was. But if we take and look at Donald Trump's whole rhetoric and put it next to Reagan's, it's pretty much the same motherfucking thing. The same.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I think that is what the appeal of Trump is, right? Because I've never met someone who disliked one of them and then really liked the other. Like, I think it is one of those things where if you loved Reagan, you also loved Trump. And for them, it is like Reagan incarnate for that group. Like, it certainly is, this is the second coming of Reagan. And for some reason, that really resonates with them. And I'm not racism.
Right.
They're just really committed to doing racism.
One thing I want to point out
as a verb.
Because at this point it's right, but because at this point it's not even passive. Like, they aren't doing it because they don't know any better. Like, that this is active participation. They are doing racism. They are doing a racism daily.
They are.
Like, they're doing a racism. Like, they wake up and are like, you know what I'd like to do? A racism. And then they go do it. Like, they're choosing that. Yeah.
Right.
And Reagan chose it, and then he just started spouting at Reagan to a bunch of other white people. And they were like, you know what? He's rich. He's a movie star. He seems like he's got it all together. Let's go with what he says. Let's all do racisms.
Right.
I mean,
when it is quite crazy that I think, and we talked about this just in our text group before, that this was the second time that we had a TV figurehead become the president, and the first would have been Ronald Reagan. And it's like when you're attracted to somebody for a whole totally different reason outside of their political
it's easy to ignore and gloss over all of the actual shit that they're thinking about and talking about and spewing.
Exactly. One of the things Reagan said in that speech was that he was going to pretty much put money into the black community, right? He didn't lie.
Well,
Reaganomics destroyed us. Ronald Reagan was elected in 1980. 82 through 84, the influx of cocaine began to flood America.
Increased by about 50%, so about by half.
Right. Yeah. Coke had already been coming through, but again, it was a rich man's drug. For crack to become what it was, and I'll fast forward a little bit, and just because you look at how the media literally affects a lot of things, Richard Pryor setting himself on fire literally brought attention to crack cocaine. It gave not necessarily the birth, but the fact that a lot of people weren't necessarily full on tilt about people freebasing.
Well, they didn't. Right. I don't think they knew what they were doing. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, it's from an economic standpoint, I guess we'll kind of small caveat, but from an economic standpoint, like we said, the influx of Coke rising by 50% means basically it's the same as, like, comparatively, like DVD players, right? When DVD players came out, they were super expensive. Now you can buy a DVD player from Family Dollar for like $15.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of those things where supply and demand. So Coke was still looked at as like a recreational drug that only rich people did, right? That 80s glamour, that, Studio 54, like, the decadence, the Scarfaces, all of this was what people associated with Coke. But because then Coke became easily accessible to everybody because there was so much of it, then people started finding other ways to use this new amount of Coke that is available to them. So that's when you get the Richard Pryor thing, which is interesting when you think about it, because Richard Pryor, certainly, I wouldn't say, famous, right? But not probably kind of on the upward swing of his
At this
trajectory.
point, yes,
Yeah,
at
like
this
on the
point,
upward, yeah,
absolutely.
on the upward swing of his trajectory, kind of. So it's just like to hear, and in the way they describe it, right? Because we weren't quite old enough to have kind of had like a real understanding of what happened, but he was literally
Right.
high as a fucking kite wandering around LA in his neighborhood with the entire top half of his body burned the way you would be burned if you like put lighter fluid on your barbecue and threw a match on it and got too close.
Right.
Like he was seriously burned by ether and just wandering around high and dazed in LA. Like that is insane when you think about it. Like it's funny now because it was okay, but I'm sorry.
I mean, it was only funny when he made the fucking joke about it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. When that
Which-
nigga lit that match and was like, I heard y'all was making jokes about it.
I'm sorry, it shouldn't be funny, but
it's kind of fucking hilarious. Like, I mean, that's not what killed him, so we can laugh. Like,
I'm saying it's only funny because he survived. It wouldn't be funny if he had survived. But
Right.
woo! But it's interesting, right? Because the way they're describing freebasing, and it's just like it made me laugh because another slight caveat. I was at work and I made a joke about freebasing coffee to stay awake. One of my coworkers, because they're kids and I forget that they're kids, was like, "What's freebasing?" And then I was like, and my manager's like eyes got huge, and I just was like, "Sweetheart, you probably should Google, but I'm not gonna have this conversation with you in the middle of a bunch of vases and rugs in Home Goods."
It's like when you take some foil. No, I'm just kidding.
I just didn't feel comfortable. And he was like, "Is it about drugs?" It's okay because all my classmates do drugs. Then he was like genuinely curious about what freebasing was. Like it turned into a whole thing where they were talking about how all their classmates do like coke and shit. So then I didn't feel bad when I explained to him what freebasing was. So then I just
right, because you might have now identified two of his friends that freebase. Like,
listen, because I think he might have already had an
2021.
idea, and they maybe are calling it something else. Like I really think he might have known and just didn't know he knew. Like, and I was deeply concerned
He's
because
like,
all of them
that's
are
couple
like,
puffing.
they're like 17, so it was all very, very concerning. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it, we're here now.
Not my children. Move on.
Yeah, Richard Pryor. Yeah, we learned about freebasing at the expense of Richard Pryor. White America did anyway. Niggas ain't learned nothing new. They just kind of laughed. But
that's right. That was for that exactly. Richard Pryor freebasing was the equivalent to Cedric the Entertainer making a joke about I'm sorry, not Cedric, but Dave Chappelle making a joke about all ski. Once these white people find out what the fuck we're talking about, oh god,
right,
you know what I mean? And that's really what it was. Crack cocaine became a thing that affected all areas, but yet and still, because I don't want this conversation to necessarily go into the destruction of the black community, but since it has to be touched on, let's keep again in context that we are talking about Iran-Contra. Crack cocaine became something that ravaged the community because in the history of America, we were the throwaways. And so if you are, what's so crazy about it all is, and I promise I'll bring this all back, I get full circle with shit. The reason America won't vote for somebody like Bernie Sanders because he speaks socialism is because way back when Ronald Reagan made you afraid of anything that did not start with the word democracy. Capitalism and democracy is the only thing that the American people know. So even before Iran-Contra became an illegal thing, legally, we literally were fighting a small ass country that had absolutely nothing to fucking do with anybody over fucking the fact that they wanted to be communist.
Yeah, so in that part of democracy and Reagan's whole policy of trickle down economics, like the 1980s, for those of you who were not born then, was like a big boom. Like anybody will tell you if they were alive during the 80s, there was money to be had, and some people were making it hand over fist. That was kind of the rise of that was certainly the rise of capitalism and consumerism in America. It certainly reached new heights. People were becoming millionaires where there had not been nearly that many people in America that were millionaires. The 80s was a very, very different time. And so Reagan platformed certainly about this idea of economic prosperity for everybody. And that's not what happened because in short terms, he was using something called trickle down economics. And basically what that means is that the people at the top have money, and then that money trickles down to everybody else at the bottom. Well,
if it gets that far.
But what we know about rich people is that they tend to hoard their wealth, right? They give away some of it, but they get tax breaks. They don't pay any taxes on any of it. And so it's not getting down to any of these people on the bottom. It never gets there. So he's preaching this economic prosperity that really most of America never saw. And in the meantime, while he was doing that and funding Iran-Contra, he also cut 500,000 people from welfare programs, 1 million people from food stamp programs, and 2.6 million children from lunch programs.
But what fucked me up about that whole thing, they don't mention it in this documentary, but during Reagan's administration, and now knowing more about Iran-Contra and just about Reagan being a fuck shit all my life, learning about it.
Such an accurate
choice of words.
He's a douche nozzle, man.
Absolutely.
Reagan literally invited Jeff Fort to the White House. For all of you all who don't know who Jeff Fort is the leader of the Black Peace Stones. Jeff Fort originated the Black Peace Stones, one of the largest gangs in the whole motherfucking world. I know you West Coast niggas blood and crip it up, and no disrespect to y'all because you niggas one of the biggest and two of the biggest dopest forces in the world. But where we from, folks, Vice Lords, Peace Stones, Latin Kings, they rule our economy. In that sense, and Jeff Fort created the Black Peace Stones. Now Jeff Fort sat down with Ronald Reagan, and a lot of money at one point in time got funneled to Chicago in the sense of building science centers and all of this other shit. And supposedly somebody fucked the money up, and that's why Reagan and them went in and was like, "Oh no, now you're bad for the community or whatever." But it all goes
fucking
back
up
to
the
show
church's money.
that a lot of times the Black leaders who we look up to, in a sense, because if you from neighborhoods like where we from, you understand the difference between the nigga that's selling dope because he had no other choice and the nigga that's selling dope because he really don't give a fuck about your community. So when you realize that people like Larry Hoover and Jeff Fort and King David and things like that were doing things from a standpoint of an organizational standpoint and not necessarily trying to result into the violence that we actually grew into, you see what Reaganomics and this whole thing in the sense of, again, trying to fund Iran-Contra legally, and then when the government turned against it, and now you have to fund it illegally, and the way you do it is by allowing cocaine into the community. And you know for a fact, I don't care what anybody does. I mean, if you get addicted to too much sugar, it'll fuck your body up, or to fuck your mind up. So where are you going to allow the influx? And if we think about this, the influx of drugs in the Black community that was allowed so we could fund this whole motherfucking illegal war came less than 10 years, maybe 20 years after it became unwritten law, even though it was legal law, that Black people couldn't move into suburban areas when they decided to separate the suburbs from the motherfucking regular inner city neighborhoods. So now that we got this crack coming in and you flood in the neighborhoods, you now have segregation in the sense of not letting Black people be able to move to different communities. And it's like anything, if if I can illegally funnel if I can funnel my money off and nobody's paying attention to where the fuck it's going, and unfortunately not love being Black, but that's exactly what happened to us. Nobody gave a fuck that money was coming to the hood and fucking us up, or that the drugs was coming to the hood and fucking us up. So
I guess now's a good time to interject about Iran-Contra. So since we're here and we were on the subject, we'll go ahead and get that out of the way for those of you who aren't familiar, because I think that, like most people, U.S. history books gloss over it because, that would kind of paint Reagan in a poor light. Right. So you kind of learn about it, but they don't really give you what happened. So the easiest... So
if
I'll
they
make
would have
this
put that in the history books, then however would people go on Twitter and say that they love Reagan?
Because the only part about Iran-Contra that's in history books is the legal part. When it was legal, that's the part that's in the history.
That's the part. Basically,
but all the steps to get to that part was dirty and grimy as fuck.
So here's the thing. So in the 80s, the Central America was in a whole bunch of destabilization, right? Poor countries, a lot of government overhaul. America, for those of you who don't know and like to believe that we, do the upright and righteous thing around here, which is not the fucking case, by the way.
Sis never minds her business.
Since the beginning of time, this bitch has never minded a scrap of business that belonged to her. Period.
Not one.
But
Not one
and so
business.
in the spirit
not
of
one
minding,
LLC. Nothing.
so yeah, no incorporations. In the spirit of minding everybody else.
This bitch don't even have a brother named Sam. She invented that nigga and told that nigga
he not even real.
Not even a real
Sam
uncle,
is
just
her.
a nigga.
Sam is her.
Sam is
She's
just
catfishing
Sam is
us.
a catfish. A catfish they created to send black people to their deaths and unnecessary wars. But that's another documentary that we'll have to find. So Central America was going through a bit of destabilization. What that means for America is they don't like it because how can I put this? In the 80s and the 90s, America had a serious hard-on for like stamping out communism and Marxism. Like they had a hard-on for it. Like they loved that shit. They wanted to marry it. Like that was their thing. Like they all wanted to like be in love with it. Like
they loved it long
fucking
time.
Yeah, they loved it a long time. Like they want like if there was somebody, if they like whispered communism into the wind, like there was somebody there 3 seconds later, like punching them in the side of the head. It was very serious.
Every
like
time they beat up a communist, they listen to 2 Live Crew on the Low.
Think about all the
times.
movies. Think about all the movies around
like,
this time. All of the villains were fucking people who ran areas of communism.
Yeah, it was like everybody was like, it was America was so afraid that everybody was going to come and spread communism to America. When at this point, America was like the superpower. In the 80s, like there was nobody touching our shit. Like nobody was going to come over here and spread communism. But that was the lie they kept telling everybody, right? So there's like 4 countries in Central America. So El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala. The 4 of them were kind of going through like a very bloody civil war.
Spanish accent. You better give me them tongue rolls, bitch.
Right.
A very bloody civil war. And in 1979, a guerrilla group called the Sandinistas overthrew the Nicaraguan government. And that is what all of this is about. And this is the part that made me irrationally angry. Because when you think about it, like as a reporter says later in this, there was never any threat from these people who overthrew a dictator, which by the way, America, who's a messy bitch who never minds her business, went over there and put this dictator in place. They were like, oh, you want to just run their shit over there and they can't have elections or anything? Yeah, we have elections and shit over here, but we don't want them to have that. So we're going to put you in over there. And that's what they did. And the people was like, fuck that. We read the history books. Didn't y'all do some shit in 1776 and freed y'allselves? We don't do that shit. And they did.
Whose man's is this? Like
they was like, hey, so y'all don't want us to have what you have? We're going to have it anyway. Fuck y'all. And this nigga you put in here. And so they got to shooting shit up. And voila. So they freed themselves from the bondage of the oppressor.
And
Reagan decided.
I'm not bad. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then that's when Reagan decided that just couldn't be. Those people could not be communist or Marxist or whatever the fuck they wanted to over there. Some small, broke, poor ass country in fucking Central America posed a threat to the goddamn United States in the 80s. Really.
Right.
These people got $3 collectively in the whole fucking country, but they pose a threat to America.
Absolutely.
So they couldn't be Marxists. And that is when Iran-Contra really got its way.
Exactly. For all of you who pay attention enough to the last like 20 to 30 years, during the whole Afghanistan thing and Iran and Iraq and when we weren't supposed to be over there and all of that shit, all of y'all will remember the time when we was pulling the fuck out of the Middle East and we really couldn't find a reason to go back, and all of a sudden they found an Iran spy in New York. That moment in time is just about the equivalent to Rick Ross, the real Rick Ross, because at this time when Iran-Contra was going on and now it's finally illegal, the way that the black community even gets tied into this is because a Nicaraguan guy came over to America. I don't know how the fuck he chose Rick Ross and met this dude, but the whole thought process was, if I can get cocaine to be funneled into this country, the greatest country on the fucking earth, the land of the free, the home of the brave, these people are not going to want this in their community. So if I can get it to flood their community, their government is going to go and stop where this is coming from. And little did this nigga know that our government was already in bed with your government. And
so Congress was like, that part where you want to just fund some people to go over there and shoot them up for no reason, we're not with it. Right. So basically, as you know from your, government classes or social studies, whatever the fuck these children take. I don't know. Like these children, some of these children scare me. They're very stupid, so I don't know what it is. I'm not sure. So whatever.
I feel
Reading
like
Rainbow,
they're learning about like
Schoolhouse Rock. What are they? YouTube. Okay. YouTube.
That Barney video when they have the Barney video when he's doing "Hit 'Em Up" from Tupac. I think that's as far back as they go historically.
Yeah, I think Baby Bop was in that one. Yeah, Baby Bop was in that one.
The Barney video where
like twerked a little.
The Barney video where he was reciting "Hit 'Em Up" by Tupac.
Yeah. Yeah.
The urban scholar Tupac.
Yeah, there was a flute solo and Baby Bop twerked in front of the camera. You don't remember?
She really did. And then BJ was the dude who was like, "Get out the way, yo! Get out the way, yo!"
You don't remember that?
I'll find it. Don't worry. I'll send it to you.
He was like, "Yo, I'm too high for this shit." We're kidding. It never happened. We're joking. That would be like the dopest ass episode of Barney ever, though. Like I was totally
like when he was like, "That's why I fucked your bitch. Get money." Like that's how like the video starts. It's amazing. But anyway, I bring it up to say I think that's as far back historically that books go now for kids. So.
Yeah.
Oh my God, y'all don't remember it either? I'm gonna post it. Just hold on a second, guys. Go ahead.
So Congress doesn't support this war with the Sandinistas to oust the Marxist government that is not bothering anybody. But America and Reagan guys won't mind their motherfucking business. They will not mind the business that pays them. So then they got some other business that will pay them to then pay some rebels to go shoot up some shit. So
now
Reagan decides, you know what we'll do? Let's sell pistols to Iran. Let's they'll later use to fuck up some shit for us to then send some more black people over there to be crash dummies and test pilots while they shoot them in the fucking desert with the same missiles and rockets that we sold them in the 80s.
Yeah.
But don't nobody know where them shits came from. They got them illegally, but nobody's saying the part, they're whispering the part about they illegally got them from America. But so they get $30 million from this shit, and then they just start paying the Contras, which is the guerrilla warfare group, $30 million in guns and supplies that they've gotten illegally from selling missiles and shit. And they loaded up on the planes, flying right on over to Nicaragua, and the Nicaraguans being the business people that they are, when the guns and shit come off the plane, they load the plane with coke and send it right on back to America. And that's how the coke got here, ladies and gentlemen. If you ever thought that the coke did not just show up on its own, there was not a goddamn coke boogeyman that dropped it on your doorstep, you are 100% correct, and you get a cookie. That shit got here on American ass planes paid for by your tax dollars.
Exactly. Listen, and that's the thing that gets me is that I remember my dad told me a long time ago. I was a kid. I was probably like 10, 11 years old. He said, everything that you see on TV, it's fake, but it's real. And I'm like, what do you mean? He says, the media puts things on TV because what's going on in the like the shit that you're not supposed to know, that's how they tell you that it's coming. Like, for instance, the first stealth bomber really flew in 1968, I think, or 62. But the first time we heard about it was the fucking Gulf War. How is it so stealthy? Mm-hmm. That shit's all over the fucking news, right? It's because they had already been done with that old ass technology. My point is, in saying all of that, the
government only lets you know things that they think are harmless for you to know. If they think that it is an issue of national security or something that the general public would be unfavorable about or shouldn't know, then they wait until it's declassified, and then you can find about it through the American Patriot Act.
Exactly.
Yep.
You too can send in a form and learn all you want to know, and then when you get the paper, some of it'll be blacked out because they'll be redacted, and they'll say that that's still a matter of national security, which it probably is not. But they did some illegal shit, and they don't want you to know about it.
We can't expose everybody. We can't tell on all of our great white men that ran this motherfucking country. Listen.
So John Kerry made an appearance here. I thought that was interesting.
Yes,
hold on,
really did.
Hold on, wait. Before we get to John Kerry, I have to bring up the fact that they used because I'm pretty sure the John Kerry thing. Actually, no. Maybe John Kerry was before the whole Nancy Reagan just say no thing. Maybe I can wait.
Well, after, but let's get to Nancy. Let's
Okay,
get
so
to
listen.
Nancy's flop ass. Let's
Let
go
me
ahead and get to Nancy's flop bullshit ass.
let me jump
When
on
people
Nancy.
ask me, like, what the fuck? Like, when does that happen, bitch?
My thing about Nancy is this.
I just say no.
For one,
She said
you
children
use
asked her what to do when they
just
are
say
offered
no.
drugs. No
Listen,
motherfucking kids asked you that,
No
Nancy.
child is
No
asking
goddamn
you
kids
that.
asked your Skeletor scary looking faced ass that.
nobody. And this is my
Nobody
thing
asked
about
you that, white lady.
this is my thing about the motherfucking media. You took the Lakers, you took Pee Wee Herman, you took Clint Eastwood. We did the fucking this
Oh,
is what the drugs
video.
is
I
on
need to
fucking
post that Laker
crack
video.
shit. And it's like you took the media and like this is also just
They
say
spent
no.
millions
Hey,
of dollars on an anti-drug campaign to tell children to not say no, and children weren't the fucking problem.
but look
Like,
though, and
children doing drugs was never the problem here.
this was also when they brought out the
What
crack
shouldn't
baby.
the campaign really have been? Stop shipping it in instead
But
of
I
just
mean,
saying no.
you can't say stop shipping it in when you're the one doing it.
Yeah,
You see
Yeah.
you
what I'm
didn't.
saying? I feel like
Then people would know you were shipping it. So,
exactly with everything that
do
they
you
was
ever
doing,
wonder? Like, this is so. Just
you turned the black community against the black community.
do
Honestly,
y'all ever wonder like how culpable Nancy Reagan is in that? Like, she was on fucking TV in them frail ass Little House on the Prairie ass collar dresses, yelling about just say no. And I'm like, is she sleeping next to this nigga? And like he telling her, yeah, girl, we just flew $3 million worth of missiles over to Iran. I'm finna re up on the coast. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is she laying there in bed, writing down and trying to make out the dare slogan while this nigga on the phone, like across the bedroom, talking about like how they're shipping more drugs? Like, I'm just trying to understand,
She's
like, what
like,
is the
listen, Nancy Reagan.
she's like, well, I guess since it's coming, I should just
Let's
tell them
wrap
to
it up.
say
I think we should
no.
have a rally and have more children come say no.
Listen,
Yes.
Casino is an over exaggerated version of Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan's life.
Not casino.
I feel like we should just film a short where you explain your theory there. I feel like the
Yeah.
casino to crack pipeline theory, and I need to hear all about it.
This can be a thing. Like,
I need to hear that short. Like that needs to be a whole other video, and I need access to it immediately. Like
absolutely.
Ginger and Robert De Niro, I can't remember his name in it, but yeah. Fucking yeah, that's all the thing. Anyhow.
I was just curious. I just wonder how culpable she is in that. Like, bitch had to hear something. I don't know why she yelling no all the time.
Of course because she's like, well, what else can I tell these niggas? But just say no. It's already over here. It's coming. I can't stop it.
Thing,
like
that's the thing with it is that I continue to feel like that once it got so far out of hand, again, it's like and again I'll tie all of this in. It's like I remember somebody said to me, what if LeBron was a test tube baby and he really was the result of them trying to make a super soldier again since PCP didn't work? And hypothetically,
ooh, MK really Ultra, nice tie-in.
I know this was like my jaw kind of dropped.
All the government conspiracies in one place. I love it.
Ooh, I got the goosebumps.
So somebody was like, "Yo, if LeBron was a test tube baby, and he was the result of a super soldier again, because we don't know who his dad is, and we know his mom had a questionable life. If he was the result of a drug that the government introduced and it did not work, it's very easy to say, yo, this nigga from the hood. Of course he was bound to fuck up. But when it works, it's look at this storied ass nigga who didn't have a motherfucking chance, and now he's the motherfucking greatest nigga ever because." Of this drug that you know what I mean, and so I brought all of that up to say, if hypothetically, if that was the truth, it's the same thing that they did with crack cocaine. The crack baby, the description of the black mother, everything that was associated with crack became black, and everything that was associated with crack was negative. Think about it. Cocaine still. Cocaine is nothing. Crack is nothing more than cocaine with water and fucking baking soda. That's it. That is in a little bit of fire to it.
As the gentleman with the dreads who smokes heroin pointed out, He smokes heroin. I don't know if you guys knew that. There's some outside information.
We had watched the podcast, and then yes, I'll send you the fucking article. Like,
yes, so right. Like he did a panel. He did a panel after we had agreed to watch this, and maybe like a week or two, maybe a week ago, if that. He did a panel, and he said that basically he was a recreational heroin user. Like he uses heroin and just goes about his life. He doesn't have like any. But
can I say? It's true. Like, and he's writing a book, or he wrote a book, like where he's basically explaining, like, because he's like super for like legalizing all drugs and letting people go on their journeys. Like, but like, what was I fucking? Oh fuck, I'm high. I forgot.
Again, you know what though? But then again, I can't really speak against that. I would never do.
I mean, I don't give a fuck that he does heroin. That's not my goddamn business.
Oh no, okay, I remember what I was gonna say.
Like America, doesn't it make sense? Mind my own motherfucking business.
And niggas don't like
he's a fucking neurologist though.
He's a neuroscientist.
Or like, wouldn't he neuroscientist? Like, wouldn't he be the one that could take fucking heroin and be okay with like in fucking
like fine?
Like you know what I'm saying? He knows about all of the shit that's happening up there. Like, wouldn't he know how to fucking?
Well, I also know functional crack users, so the heroin didn't actually surprise me that goddamn much. But that's a story for another day.
A neuroscientist, probably though. I think that's the part that like.
I mean, it's a wow, but like, he's still right. He don't make any of his points. Like his point's not less valid. That was really the point. That motherfucker do all the heroin, and his point's not less valid. He still know what the fuck he's talking about. Yeah. Crack with some fucked up shit.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
What was I gonna say? Something. What was we talking about? Nancy Reagan flop ass. Okay.
Yeah. So listen, before around the Nancy Reagan, we have to address this. We have to address it for cultural reasons, for comical reasons, and just because.
Is it Alan?
Huh?
Alan?
No, we'll get there. Calvin.
Oh.
Fuck Calvin.
Commercial.
Calvin got a job.
I have so much to say. Oh, listen.
I wholeheartedly believe that Calvin commercial, the way that the dude, hold on, let me get this dude, Samson Styles, the way he was describing it in the sense of like, fuck Calvin.
Best name ever, by the way.
Huh?
Best name ever. Name. Like if he could have like did something else with that, like after being a crack dealer, like
if he was a
porn star, like that's a fucking Samson Styles.
Porn star was a real name.
It's an amazing name.
Listen, the only other nigga name with the last name Styles that was that dope was Furious, and we all love Boys II Men. Anyhow, I mean Boys in the Hood, not Boys II Men.
Boys in the Hood. Boys.
Anyhow, totally different situation, not the same.
Right, not at all. Girl, I knew about it. I just didn't care. That nigga was lying, but that pussy was
nigga.
Anyhow, so the nigga Samson Styles was I think got way the fuck off base. Now you got me talking about Boys II Men and shit. Calvin. Oh yeah, Calvin. The nigga was pretty much if you look at how cocaine did not affect the black community the way that crack did, and when crack came about, you have mothers and fathers in those times that are now losing their minds, right? The drug is taking over. So you have children that now become adults in their own time. And the crack literally destroyed a community while building a way for economic wealth to be built. And I think when you're already on the inside of the bullshit, when your community is already fucked up and now all of a sudden something else is fucking it up worse, you're able to see the difference between what's good and what's bad and what's really fucked up, while the rest of the world just looks at you as a horrible person. The dope dealer was not really a nigga that was out to fuck his community up.
I don't think that was the case, right? I think a lot of it is a product of environment, but it's an environment that the government created, right? Like,
and that's what I'm saying.
By their calculations, the 80s should have been a time of prosperity for everyone. That was the promise. But when it didn't happen, and now we have all this available drug to sell and create our own commerce here for the community that you don't care about, and you've cut all these programs from and made all these people jobless and homeless and moneyless and whatever the fuck else, of course they started selling drugs. So then they demonize these people as if they've done something horrible and unthinkable, when in reality you funneled this into a place of hopelessness and this is the only hope these people have of getting out.
Well,
And then
that's
you
it.
want to make McDonald's videos where people are making $3.30 fucking $5.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I feel like in essence of a lot of people wholeheartedly don't like to believe that the government plays a big hand in a lot of the shit, or that a lot of shit is orchestrated. But this is one of the biggest things. And again, we keep bringing up Iran-Contra because really this is not about drugs affecting the black community. It is, but it's about how, again, Ronald Reagan wanted to prove that his nuts was the biggest in the fucking world. So this nigga, like,
he turned a
this
blind
is
eye, and that's the part. If they
right.
weren't so
This is
hard
what
up
happens.
to squash a fucking communist communist cell in Nicaragua of all fucking places
All
that had
fucking places.
no
But at the same time,
benefit or threat to these people, they were
that's
so
how
willing.
you know that it was about the dope. That's how you know that
Like,
it was
if you're
about the
so
dope,
willing to turn a blind eye to these people, like Mr. Samson Style said, you can't get a Cuban cigar into America, but it's millions and millions of dollars of cokes coming in by planes, trains, automobiles, helicopters, ski-doos, yachts. They fucking sending it over on submarines. They sending it by fucking carrier pigeon, and you ain't found none of it. Like, what? That means you don't want to.
Well, look,
If a
Pigeon
motherfucker
man
is
was
sending
like,
coke,
oh,
if a
Now-
motherfucker is sending coke through the air on pigeons, and you ain't managed to catch a pigeon, can't see none of the pigeons, don't know where none of the pigeons is, the boats pulling up on the ramps at the marina, they offloading the shit, calling fucking UPS, I need some packages picked up, can you come to the dock and meet me? Everybody just whatever. And you telling me we don't know where it came from. We don't know anything about it. Oh my God, it's so much crack. Why is there so much crack? Oh, the black community. Oh my God, where's all this crack coming from? It's coming from you, bitch. You know where this crack is coming from, and you just don't give a fuck. Like, it's more important for you to shoot some poor fucking people. It's more important for you to shoot some brown people in fucking Central America than it is for you to pay attention to the fact that it's crack being flown over on goddamn drones and goddamn CRV kids toys riding in the back of somebody's Tonka truck.
But
Like,
you
the
want to know what's
fuck? Of course
crazy?
it's your fault.
Look, it continued to be a thing though. Like, the amount of money that the government was making from the sale of crack cocaine, and the way that they were able to continue to make it a war on drugs, continued to be a thing from Reagan all the way through Clinton. You know what I'm saying? You had Reagan, then you had Bush take over for Reagan and Bush introduced the war on drugs. There was no war on drugs until Bush. That's when that whole thing came about. And then Clinton comes about and
he decides he want to prove that his nuts are bigger than everybody's.
Exactly.
And all it was a pissing match. It was a white man pissing match. It's really what it was. Who can be the toughest on crime?
Yeah, remember, this nigga literally wholeheartedly dogged the shit out of anything George Bush stood for except the fucking crime bill. And when that nigga took the 3-strike law,
you're right, Autumn, they are bitches.
Yeah, look, from the 86 bill to the 88, from the 86 bill that hit traffickers to the 88 bill that hit anybody that had possession, to the 94 crime bill where it was pretty much like, look, my nigga, this shit, you literally, your third time possessing any type of crack cocaine literally could have had you on the same block with murderers, rapists, fucking pedophiles, because you're not even trafficking. You've never killed for this. You've never shot a nigga. You ain't robbed a nigga. You
just had some. Like, you could be used recreational use. It could be your first time ever even having some, and you going to jail. So I want to take this opportunity to have a discussion with you about the ways in which cocaine and crack are policed. A very short one. Right. So the documentary does a very good job of pointing this out. So a gram is roughly about the size of a sugar packet, equal sweet and low, whatever, like the kinds that you get when you go to a restaurant or a diner and they have them in a little cup. Yeah, IHOP, and they have them in a little container. The little sugar containers.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's a gram. So let's imagine that is a gram of crack. So 1 gram of crack, whatever. 5 grams of crack will get you 5 to 40 years under the mandatory minimum sentencing laws that America has currently. In order to get the same sentence for doing coke, you would have to have 500 grams of cocaine, which to me sounds a lot like you are dealing cocaine.
That's what I was about to say.
With like
in order to have 500 grams of coke just readily available to you, you are selling cocaine. So basically, what they are saying is that I will give people that have crack, even if they are only using recreational and have enough for just one person to use, the same amount of time in jail as somebody who has coke on standby that they have clearly smuggled into this country or purchased from somebody with the intent to sell and distribute.
Right.
And that's going, and it's 5 to 40 years for both of those things.
This is a person that's trying to go out for one time at night and go back to the house and chill. Like that.
They just trying to have a cute little party. They just trying to have a cute little good time for that little 20-minute high, and now you done scooped them up, and now they got to spend 5 years minimum in jail.
Like a nigga that had that much cocaine. That like, oh my god!
This is how you continue to turn a blind eye to what's really going on. Because if I can take a people of economic wealth and make them look at a whole different community, and that community is already complaining about being in despair. Now, mind you, the cocaine problem, the jobless problem, none of that is the reason why Black people originally began to say, hey, look, shit needs to change. But if this is the biggest thing that I can put in your face, and now I'm also telling you that these people want change, and now it makes you look at a community of people and say, they don't really want change. They're bitching for no reason. They're doing this to themselves. The media has made you believe that we wanted crack then. The media has made you believe that because
who wants crack?
Right, we love it. Because children, don't get me wrong, you got these 16 and 17-year-old kids that's making more than their fathers now. But it was not because they wholeheartedly was on some. Then Obama changed that with the fit. What fit sentences? Obama closed Guantanamo Bay. Don't get me started on Obama. Shout out to a Black man becoming president, but I'm trying to figure out what the fuck he ever did for niggas. It's a whole nother conversation.
I think there may be something correct there. I think some of the minimum sentencing laws did change, but I do not think that all of it got wiped from the books. But I think he is correct. Some parts of it did get minimized.
I mean, yeah. I ain't gonna. I mean, shit. I'm not the nigga that's gonna ever sit in and say I'm well versed in what a bunch of laws and shit like that. So I didn't know that. So that's what's up.
So let's fast forward a bit, I guess. So the change in policing we see. So to back up a bit, we kind of contrast this. We talked about Richard Pryor a little bit earlier, but then we have this discussion, or a small bit of discussion, about the death of Len Bias.
Right.
So for those of you who don't know who Len Bias is, he was basically a Black kid.
Basically, the only person that could give Michael Jordan a fucking run for his money. The only person.
Played for the University of Maryland, was like a top star there. Dreamed of playing for the Boston Celtics. Actually had his dream come true and got drafted first pick overall by the Boston Celtics. Went back to his dorm to party, which weird that he went back to his dorm, but I guess that's the thing they did back then. I don't know. I don't know anybody that's ever been drafted. I've never been to a draft party, so maybe that's what they do, right? I don't know. So he goes back to, I don't know. Look, no rich people.
Cocaine is in every party you've been at. Shit.
Well, yeah, I know, but we aren't talking about that right now. We're not talking about cocaine.
Like germs.
Yeah, but so he goes back to, I guess, celebrate in his dorm, and then we get some audio from the 911 call. And that shit was hard to listen to. That was a lot. And it was just very quiet and somber because they could tell he was gone. Like, you could tell from the audio that they knew. Like, they knew he was dead. So what the media eventually portrays is that he has died of basically a heart attack that is induced by drug use.
Right. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and then you kind of see all these news articles and news outlets and all this media attention about how, oh my God, this coke and this crack use is getting out of hand. These good, upstanding members of the Black community are dying, and it's just wiping everybody out. And these Black men would otherwise have bright futures. And I think it's interesting, right? Because when it's just people that are in poverty that are using crack, then it's fuck it, they brought them on themselves. There's nothing we can do to help. But then when it starts to be promising people who have their whole lives ahead of them, or white people or whatever, then it's, oh my God, it's a plague, it's a virus. And you see the language, an epidemic. You see the language
kind of what's happening
with the
Kind of
opioid
what's
addiction
happening
now.
right now with the opioid shit right now.
Yeah, like you see a certain change in language and the way that they view people that are users. And I think it's unfortunate that, I mean, because we do have, I think, an interview with the lady who says that she went to her doctor, like she was going through some serious issues in her life.
Yeah,
She
this
went to
is
her physician and told him
Deborah
that
Johnson.
yeah, she went to her physician and explained to her physician that she was using drugs and she was hoping to get help. She was hoping that somebody would help her, and that man turned her turned her over to the police.
And this was the first time. This was the first time that we saw a woman get convicted for dealing drugs to a child through the umbilical cord. This was a real thing, y'all. This lady got arrested for dealing drugs
she's a drug dealer
within 60 seconds after birth, because the umbilical cord was still attached, and she had been doing drugs. She had been doing crack while she was pregnant. This entire thing, anytime you can keep an eye pointed on somebody and it's like, oh, we don't like them anyway, whatever they do is always looked at as bad. We can continue to construe or misconstrue and say that this person is fucked up.
Right, and we can change the laws and the way that our government works to penalize these people.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter what the law is. We can put new laws on the books to further penalize these people.
Exactly. Right. And this makes the world, or America, I would say, turn a blind eye to the fact that these people, it's just like the lady said, yo, like, she got put on that bus and took to a place that she didn't know where she was going when she got convicted. And she was like, it made me think of my ancestors, like, what really has changed? That's really what this is. Yeah. I don't want to say, well, yeah, we can get into it. Shit. It's really turned, it's modern day slavery. It's modern day slavery. I turned a blind eye to where this is coming in. I purposely put it in this area. And then when I put it in this area, I tell the people in that area, if you have it, I'm going to put you away for life. Right. But in the areas where this drug in its pure form is too expensive, it's a thing of let those people do their thing. They ain't robbing nobody. They're not this, that, and the third. And so when this lady goes and she knows that she needs help, and you turn her over to the police, and furthermore, in that same part, we get to Shirley Brown. And Shirley Brown she was a white nurse who was talking to pregnant mothers.
This fucking bitch.
And taking their statements about drug use and drug habits and this, that, and the third.
And lies.
Casually. So basically just being like, hey, like, you can tell me, like, and when she's asked, when people are asking, like, well, why are you asking me these questions? Right. Why are you asking me these questions? Like, who are you giving this information to? Nothing. No one. This is just for my information. And then, like, she was calling the police on these people either before they even had their babies, so they end up having their fucking kids in jail and taken away, or the moment that they have those fucking kids, or getting locked up while they're having it. So being fucking chained to the fucking bed while they're giving birth.
It was fucking believable. I didn't even know that was even a thing that you could do. Which I don't think under current laws you can, but
I don't think that was the thing you could do.
When I was giving birth to my son, I heard a lady screaming down the hall in the hospital. And when I asked the nurse, whenever she eventually came into my room, I asked what happened. She looked me in my fucking eye and told me that lady tested positive for methamphetamines and they took her fucking kid. So, and my son's 12. So my son's 12. So that was just 12.
Which I mean, I don't know why I said that, because we watched the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, and they definitely took that lady's baby. Like,
I just thought about them. I just thought about the fucking whites. Fucking.
So they shot a police officer. I guess we should just go ahead and get into that. Edward Byrne. They shot the shit out of him. Now listen. Now I don't condone violence towards people. Well, I do, but for the purposes of this,
right. Like this was kind of off kilter. This was kind of no reason.
Let me not lie.
Really.
Yeah, the way they frame it is that basically he was just sitting in the car and he got popped, which is very possible. Who the fuck knows? Barbara knew. Barbara didn't know. Fuck Shirley. Fuck Shirley all day, every day.
Listen,
it's always fuck Shirley. Fuck that bitch. I hope she's somewhere in hell. I hope she got a hell next to Reagan. Like, bitch, I hope you there next to Reagan. Good luck.
I hope one of them black girls' grandmas beating her ass. Bro.
I hope she is stomping her motherfucking face in. I hope they ascend her to heaven every goddamn morning so somebody can stomp her ass back down the hill. God damn, fuck you, Shirley. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you. Fuck you for real.
And then
like she go to work like, how many babies can I get taken away?
How can I commit trauma against black people today? You
right
racist
today.
piece of shit.
The crazy part too, bitch, is you only did it because you wasn't blonde. Like you was one of them bitches back in the 80s that was like getting teased for being a brunette and called ugly, you fat bitch. And you decided to motherfucking do black women like that.
Let's not fat shame. That's okay. It's okay to be fat.
I'm not fat
but
shaming. I'm not.
It's okay to be fat. It's not okay to be ugly. It's not okay to have that fucking face and that fucked up ass haircut, Shirley. That haircut was fucking ugly, Shirley. Your haircut was bullshit, and that's why you were mad because bad bitches was coming in there having babies and doing a little crack on the side, and now you mad because your haircut fucked up, bitch.
Shirley was mad that she couldn't ask for the manager.
Bad bitches was doing walkthroughs.
And you mad because their hair looked better than yours, and now you got to call the goddamn police. Shirley is the old Karen.
Right. Shirley is the OG Karen.
That's the OG Karen. Fuck you, Shirley. Nigga. But they shot anyway. They shot that little white man.
He was just in his car, and they just shot the shit out of him, and it was very unfortunate, and it didn't really play well in the fucking.
Listen, like they probably listen. The police was getting paid off, and they probably should have left that alone because we have an interview throughout with Deb Anthony's brother. So yeah, Deb Anthony's brother is in this, and he's talking about how they were poor and he had to wear his sister's jeans and whatever. But so if you know, Deb Anthony is Waka Flocka's mother, and she also is kind of one of those people that really kind of put hip hop rap on the map. Like she got it out the mud for real. But that's another documentary that we probably will have to add to the list because it's actually a decent one. So her brother is in this, and he's having a conversation. He was like, he was selling drugs. The cops pulled up on him, and he really had like fucking 100 bottles of crack. Like, he definitely had enough crack on him to be in prison for like under the prison. Like he had enough to be under the prison for the rest of his fucking life. They threw that bag back at him and told him to go tell his boss that they did him a favor. So they got the cops on payroll. So then when they shot this cop, they was out of line. That's the proof. Like, whoever shot that man was out of pocket because he was sitting in the car minding his own motherfucking business, and they probably should have left him the fuck alone. Because what transpired after that changed the way that the police, black and changed the landscape of policing, and it still continues today. That is where you get your stop and frisk from. This is where you get your militarization of police. They poured $12 billion into militarizing the police force after they shot this white man in that police car.
That's why little towns have tanks, like things like that. These are the things. This is how it started.
And armor-piercing bullets and shit. Like, that is why. Like, they spent $12 billion militarizing these police forces because one white man got shot. So I just want to know, whichever one of you niggas shot him, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Like, you're a murderer and you should be ashamed for that, but also because you really just kind of fucked up the church's money. Like, they probably they was out of pocket, but they wasn't militarized. They didn't have tanks.
right.
Find out that nobody black shot him and the government shot this nigga and just called it a
wild times. Listen, and I believe that. Fuck 12 on up.
Fuck 12. Real shit.
Fuck 12. Absolutely. The plug's wife. Like the preacher's wife, there's no angels, just demons.
Right, there's no angels.
There's no angels, just demons.
Just demons white man with kilos.
Yeah, just white men with 12. Just white men with 12. White men with planes full of cocaine and $12 billion to spend on tanks and military grade weapons.
And Hawaiian shirts because they travel so much.
Tommy Bahama shirts.
Yes.
And they AK-47. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
They also spent millions on the expansion of prisons, right? The prison industrial complex is real. And we got this off the back of crack, man. In 1985, there were 16,600 people incarcerated. 10 years later, by 1995, that number fluctuated to 134,000 people. That is a 707% increase over 10 years.
And this number that we're talking about, we're not talking about white people.
We talking about niggas.
That's the
And then the
last
crazy part of this is that 2/3 of crack users were white. And between the time that they started the war on drugs and started this anti-drug legislation, 0 white people who did crack
Were
or coke were arrested.
arrested ever.
0.
None.
None of them. A 0. 2/3 of them are the ones doing crack, and none of them went to prison.
Were arrested or penalized or anything.
Nothing.
But somehow things are increasing 700% as far as some people getting arrested for things like this.
Because they increased the police presence. And I will say this, because I see this and look, I read. I don't get my information from Twitter. But I will say this. It is interesting when you hear people or older Black people talk about the war on drugs and that time, especially if they were in it, right? Like if they were living there. So they weren't selling drugs, but they just lived in a place where drugs were being sold. The violence was ramped up. It was getting out of hand. Everyone's getting shot. There are children being shot in the street. You know, there's a PTSD that is certainly associated with that. And so when you hear them talk about it and you hear it in relation to the anti-crime bills, a lot of it, which I can't remember what his name was, but the guy that was a senator or a congressman at some point, and we sit with him, Charlie something, I can't remember. But he was saying, he was like, in hindsight, he says it sounded like a good idea at the time. And what we find out is that they pushed through this anti-drug legislation in 4 weeks. 4 weeks.
Yeah.
When it usually takes months and years for any type of bills to get passed. And so they push through this legislation that they haven't researched, that they haven't really done any type of thought about, and they push it on people because people were begging them to do something. And I think that is the part that gets lost in this, because even though it is a issue that is designed by the government, certainly, like this is 100% their fault.
Right.
People were begging them to do anything, because who else do you beg to do anything? When everyone you know is being shot, you can't sit on your own stoop. When children can't ride their bikes outside because you're afraid your kid is going to get shot in the street. Like when the preacher said that 9-year-old told his mom, "Don't dress me like that in a suit and tie when I die, because I want my friends to recognize me." Yeah. What do you say to that? And so it's, again, like, this is not a documentary about the plight of the Black community, but it is certainly an argument to be had about the ways in which we are beholden to a government that is not necessarily beholden to us. Because at that point, people take the streets. You know, you what else do? You're not selling crack, so you don't have millions of dollars coming into your at your disposal. So what else you do? You walk in the street, you protest, you write your congressman, you do the things that they tell you you're supposed to do to get help, and then the help never comes. And then when the help does come, it's so far in the opposite direction of what you wanted that it still cripples your community. There's a hopelessness in that. It is all a design, but that's the thing, though. You hear people. And that's the thing. You hear older people argue, and they're like, no, those people deserve to go to jail. And even though you see what the results of that over-policing and over-militarizing of the police forces and these sweeps and this stop and frisk, we see what the results of that are now. But like that gentleman said, in hindsight, it wasn't a great idea. But at the time, when you're in the thick of it, when people are begging you to do something, when kids are dying, when it looks very, very hopeless, then it seems okay to ask the government to step in and just say, fuck it, lock all these people up.
Real shit. But I mean, I think that was the most intricate part between the 84 and the 80. Well, yeah, the 84 and the 86 bill is because, again, I'm sorry, 86 and 88, I think it was. But anyway, it went from being about traffickers to anybody who possessed crack. And
instead of these people getting help, because the traffickers were just selling, most of them weren't doing drugs.
Exactly.
So then it became about, instead of penalizing these people that are putting the drugs in the community, it became about penalizing people that were just users, that were caught up in whatever their day-to-day problems were and were trying to find an escape, which now we try to get those people help. But still, even now, people joke about people being crackheads. Crack is still not acceptable. Like, it's still not acceptable for you to use crack. Like, let's be real.
Yo, speaking of crack not being acceptable, I know that I just sent y'all that private chat message, but and I'm getting off topic a little bit. Well, not really, because anyway, guys, that fucking song, "Your Mama's on Crack Rock." Did we really like think about like if we knew these motherfuckers? We knew like a bop almost like.
But listen,
why?
Listen, my homegirl heard that and she was like, "What is that song?" And I was like, "Are you for real?"
Oh no, I didn't know what the fuck it was. I had never heard that in my life. No, I never heard that. I'd never heard that in my fucking life.
It was,
and I was like,
a hood bop.
And I was sitting there looking like, what the fuck is going on here?
It was a bop, and I'm ashamed of it.
What is the box?
A bop.
The box. No, I said that shit was on the box.
Oh, okay.
You
okay.
said box.
Oh, the
I know
box.
what box was. He says the box. Was that something?
Yeah.
Wasn't that like
the box?
It was the call in where you called in that number and it like charged you like $3 or some shit to like watch a video.
We had cable, so I just listened to the music channel.
Nigga, we did too. What are you doing?
I didn't. But you also but also keep in mind where I lived. Like
okay.
Like radio stations, like you're talking about something that like you would have had to like have radio access, and like all they sold was like we had like a country station, like we had like a country station, like a station that played like kind of pop. Like we didn't.
No, this shit was on TV. So it's like you.
And you would just call in, and it was like was a 3 or 4 digit number, and like every like video had a number,
and you would just call in to like hear it.
Yeah.
No, it would play the video, the music video.
Really? Fascinating. And you would pay for this.
Well,
your parents,
your mama would.
And your parents would like
be so much fucking trouble. You got in so much trouble. But what I would do is I was like, I would call my
mama
friends.
Broke my neck for it, so I don't play with demons. No, shit crazy.
Right. So
I did see it and knew my mom was nuts.
So I would be on the phone with my friend.
Crazy. My mama got a every day of the month. Hell no.
And then I would suggest a video for her to play. And then she would do it on the 3-way. And so I was like, yes, because like I couldn't. My grandmother would fucking kill me.
That shit would be on A-bill. That shit ain't got
That's wild. Like shout out to the box. That sounds like
stroking.
Clarence Carter. That is a juke joint anthem, baby. Because if I go to the juke joint, my stepdad owns a hole in the wall club, baby. That is in the jukebox on regular rotation, baby. You can't tell them Clarence Carter ain't the thing in 2021.
It's so random because I was just talking about that song, and I didn't even know it had a video. Like,
yeah, the box is where I saw Biggie's Warning video for the first time, where they killed the niggas at the end. Because then they stopped showing that version. Like,
I imagine so.
I remember when R. Kelly's fucking download came out.
I imagine they did.
And R. Kelly's camp ordered it like every hour. Yes.
That was a theatrical presentation.
Basically, also fuck R. Kelly very hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, listen.
Nigga.
What were we talking about? Yeah, so the
sorry guys.
Sorry. I had never that was new. Like I had never seen that. Y'all forgive me. Like maybe that's just small town living or whatever. You don't necessarily get the exposure that you get to other things. But yeah, I never.
It's a fucking crazy. It's a
well. Also, that I think
that ain't my
that
mama.
and also
that
like
ain't
only
my
child.
mama.
Like my. Yeah, I think my parents were just kind of like, girl, what?
You got my mama bent.
I did hear that part. Miss Mama with her barrettes, and I was like, yeah, shorty, that's why I get on their ass. Like, I did listen. I just was like, well, they got the kids singing about it was a lot. Like, why is
bully in a fucking bully circle.
Like, oh my God, like, why are y'all, like, I couldn't call it cyberbullying. Like, why are you music video bullying this girl? Like, leave her alone.
She did have like all 100 of the fucking barrettes on her head.
I think they were jealous of her barrettes. I think they were jealous because they were just very rude to her. Like, It's okay, but the kids don't. Kids get crazy about the mama. Like they talk bad about the mama. They don't give a fuck. So
yeah.
shit, her mama could have been a senator, and they still would have been like your mama's.
Your mama smoke crack, right?
And
no, she don't.
Clinton.
She snort cocaine.
Can you imagine Chelsea Clinton the day after the Clinton scandal came out? Like, bitch, your mama can't even suck dick.
Nigga.
How you getting teased because your mama can't give a blowjob? That's crazy.
Like, look, now I'm cool, Chelsea. Like,
tragedy.
Right.
Shit, what was I gonna say? Oh, so I wanted to circle back because we were talking about people's mamas being on crack and these children. So this whole crack baby situation. So children can be very rough. Do y'all remember children calling other children crack babies when y'all was at school? Because I remember that being a thing. Okay, so let's just go ahead and debunk that because the media made it sound like these children were gonna be like eating people's faces off like they were on bath salts or some shit.
They just grew up to make poor decisions.
Like there was nothing wrong with these kids. Like there was nothing wrong with these kids. They had no evidence that there was any long-term effects. Like basically, Ira Chasnoff, a Chicago pediatrician, like, bitch, you from my hometown, but fuck you. Like, bitch, fuck Ira. Like, Ira, you dumb bitch. You stupid, dummy ass bitch. Like, he studied 23 people. He 23 children. And they publish you in the New England Journal, Science of journals.
I mean, the dude who classified
the Science of the Medicine Journal, the New England one, the good one, where the motherfuckers that really know what they talking about being there. He tested 23 goddamn infants and was like, yeah, some of them, they seem to cry a lot.
Because they don't like you.
Because you're a fucking demon, Ira, and they don't have any goddamn sage. That's all it is, Ira. You're goddamn demon. Babies cry when they're in the face of evil. Goddamn. Babies can't have discerning taste. 23 kids, and that's a survey that you post in a internationally acclaimed medical journal. But 23 kids. Boy, that is white. That is some white mediocrity for your ass.
It goes to show that again, and even in the sense of this wasn't what trickle down economics meant, but in the sense of the trickle down effect. Everything that was birthed from Reagan purposely turning a blind eye continued to play. Anytime anybody wanted to say, yo, let's do this because this is a detriment to the black community, whatever.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and finish it. This is a lot.
Blacks could do whatever the fuck they wanted to.
Fuck Reagan.
Fuck Reagan. Fuck Reagan. Fuck Bush. This is
bingo. That's half-ass research, and that's my point. You cannot do research on 23 fucking children and decide that you want to go tell the nation that we got a crack problem and all the children on crack and they gonna go to school and try to eat their own shit or some shit. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what the fuck is telling them. I'm just saying, like that's not that. Anybody who has ever taken a statistics class, has ever done any type of science reading, knows that you cannot. There's no way that is acceptable research. At any other time at the 80s, when they was just letting motherfuckers do whatever at the expense of the black community, at the expense of anybody that was smoking crack, really, because what the fuck?
Oh shit.
Where are the meth babies? Where are the opioid babies?
Right.
Where are they?
Opioids. Listen, opioids is not being talked about because that shit is affecting us now and not them. But anyway, it only became a big thing because it was affecting them. We all know how that goes. Listen.
Yeah, the standard is 100. They're full of shit. Ira's a dumbass. Let's wrap this up because we about an hour and a half in.
Right. We're an hour and a half in. This could go on forever due to the fact that this has a lot more to do with just the plight on the black community, but that's where it rests at. But it started wholeheartedly from a lot of people's favorite president, a lot of Republicans' favorite president anyway, turning a blind eye to the detriment of his own country due to the fact that he wanted his name cemented in the takedown of communism. If you haven't seen this documentary, I implore you to watch it. If you have seen this documentary, please
talk to us about it.
How you feel?
Yeah, for sure. It's on Netflix, guys.
Yeah, check it out. It's definitely a good one. Thanks for everybody that came to our first live. Khris kind of put me on the spot in the group chat because I chose this documentary. And a lot of times I like kept it real with them one day. I was like, sometimes y'all be putting me on the spot and I'll just be like, that one. And that was one of those times. And so anyhow, I'm glad that this ended up being a good one. It shed a light again. We've all seen things about the plight of the Black community, but I feel like that this shed a light on a side of the government that we all know exists, but this shit was wholeheartedly proven. All the way down to the fact that the CIA was investigated and it was proven that they wholeheartedly coerced and coincided with the influx of cocaine into the country illegally. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that was interesting. They had that town hall, and I think that lady made a very poignant point when she had the mic, and she says, how can you are saying that you are going to have somebody that is on government payroll that probably works at the CIA investigate the CIA? Investigate the CIA.
Audrey missed, but that's our Pee Wee Playhouse fucking trigger word.
Yeah, so I just think she made a valid point, right? Like, you're going to have somebody from the CIA investigate the CIA that's on the CIA's payroll, and you expect us to trust the results here. You expect us to trust the government in what they're saying happened, which miraculously they were like, yeah, shit, they fucked up. They listen and surprised the fuck out of me.
Real shit.
The CIA was like, yeah, that shit was fucked up. We are bad. Sorry. And then we also got a cameo from a very young, spry-looking Maxine Waters, and I was like, yes, sis, you've been on it from day one.
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Maxine, Auntie Maxine.
But yeah, like they up to date, they've spent $1 trillion on this war on drugs, and we obviously are not winning, and DARE does not work, and Nancy Reagan is a big ass bitch ass flop.
And Laura Bush killed somebody.
Laura Bush did kill somebody. And Herbert Walker Bush said, and then H.W. Bush said there was going to be no more new taxes. Hey, Cade. And then there were new taxes, and then there was still war on drugs. So he lied too. So Reagan lied, and then Bush lied some more, and then Clinton lied, and then got his dick sucked, and then lied about that. And then they kept lying, and then they just kept like letting people sell crack.
And Obama closed Guantanamo Bay. It happened. So anyhow,
what does that have to do with crack? You don't know? Me neither.
Clearly, Penrose is just super upset about that part. Like
that part right there. Like you just
like if you want to like go on like a guided tour there. I don't understand.
No.
Like
no,
okay.
Guantanamo. Listen, it's a whole different time. We had to talk about that for real. Guantanamo Bay was meant for the most vile people ever, and so to close that down, it showed where the political structure was at that time. And so to have a black president, it was like cool because he's a black president. But then you closing Guantanamo Bay showed that the political structure in America was really not as tight as we wanted to believe that it was. And this was after 9/11. So yeah. Anyhow.
So they was torturing people, and he was like, he was like, I don't know about the torture part.
It's in pill form now, Autumn.
They kind of but that's wild. It is wild. People are definitely deciding to do crack like recently, and that's crazy. Like if this documentary didn't teach you anything, it's like crack fucked up a lot of shit. There's a generation of people who grew up without parents, who who had to raise themselves, or were shuffled off to relatives, or whatever the fuck it was, or put into foster care. Like there's nothing in me that wants to fucking try crack. Like I'm sorry, there's nothing in me that's like, hey, that'd be a good idea.
Nothing.
Right.
Most of us, and that's the thing about it, like even if you kind of grew up in a space where it was the suburbs or you had a decent life, we all probably know someone that either we lost to this drug violence or somebody that we know that did crack. Like I had an uncle. That's my mom's only brother. And I'll tell you a quick story because I know we're like running long, but my grandma loved him so fucking much. And it's crazy to me. That was her only boy, and she loved him in spite of every fault that man has or had or whatever, to the point to where it's like you don't see the bad in him. Like she could only see the good. And I say that like crack is horrible in what it can do to a person. Not everybody, but what it can do.
Yeah, for sure.
He was so high on crack with a friend of his that they went to my grandma. And this is when my great grandma was also alive and living in the house. And then my aunt was probably like a teenager. They went to the house, held my grandma, my great grandma, and my teenage aunt at gunpoint, demanded my grandma go to the bank, take money out of her account, and then come back and give them the money so that they could go buy drugs. My uncle did this to his own mother and his grandmother.
Yeah.
So we can sit here and try to divorce what it is, but it affects everybody. Because I would tell people, I didn't grow up in the streets or have some, just tumultuous upbringing, but it affects everybody. Like that man did every fucking thing. Like he hurt my grandma to her core, and she took her last fucking breath on this earth, wanting to see the good in him, wanting to see the redeemable qualities. And that is the thing. Like just because a person does drugs and we see the worst in them, it does not mean that these people deserve to be thrown away and that there's nothing redeemable about them.
Real
exactly. Real talk.
Real talk.
Yeah.
Listen.
All right, guys.
And that's it, because it's gonna make me sad.
I know.
That's it.
Well, again, if you guys want to see this documentary, it is called Crack. One more time for the road. It's on Netflix. Check it out. Right. And like we said, hit us up about it. So fun story. Real quick, right? Real quick. Fun story. You know the wheel that we have that has all the documentaries that we're gonna do next? When I switch my phone over, they're gone. So if anybody has any suggestions of things that we should do next, let us know, and then we'll have to put something together too. So because I don't know what we're doing next. So
That documentary on Pee-wee's Playhouse? Is it? I don't know.
Only if we could find the one on the Ronald McDonald first. I mean, on fucking Chuck E. Cheese.
There's a Chuck E. Cheese documentary?
Penrose, don't fucking look at me like that. We did a whole episode on the fucking Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh,
Pasquale's in them.
But no, listen, I didn't know.
Where they selling wings a piece on DoorDash? Amen.
That's real.
Listen, because Chili's got a joint called Just Wings and Just Sliders, and them wings be hitting.
Just delicious, huh?
Just fucking delicious. So shout out to them trying to diversify in the pandemic, goddamn it. Those some good ass motherfucking wings.
All right.
And I know, because the bitch loves chicken.
I'm Khris.
And I'm BJ.
BJ.
I'm BJ. That's Penrose.
This has been All Docked Up, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.